Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, the wonderful LinkedIn Live, my favorite social media platform. Not the least of which is the fact that I have 13,000 connections there. So 13 going on 14,000. So yay me. Um, just wanted to give a quick shout out. And today is Tuesday. And you know what that means. Hello, my name is Frank Lavinia, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Frank Diggs Data. And I am super excited to be here. And so basically, the whole purpose of High Impact Tuesday kind of goes back to the idea is that Monday, particularly a Monday after a holiday weekend, a long holiday weekend, some folks took off Wednesday. I took off Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was a 5-day holiday weekend here in the States, at least for me. My kids were off on Wednesday. So, the Monday back is this particular Monday. A lot of folks travel, they go to see family out of state. So yesterday was a Monday, the mother of all Mondays, I like to call it. And the hardest thing back is Monday, and sometimes Monday punches you in the face. I actually had a good Monday, so don't but sometimes what really matters is how you bounce back, and Tuesday that can let you have high impact for the week. And one of somebody was saying I should change it to max impact Tuesday. Maybe I will. So a couple of things. One, the holiday shopping season is in full effect. And let me start this off. We have where is it? A deal going on here for Black Friday. Basically, if you use code Black Friday 36, you'll get your first year of Data Channel for $36. I'm feeling festive today. And if you tell me why I chose $36 for the price plan, I will give you a free year. So the first person that emails me or messages me on whatever platform, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., or email, why I chose 36 as a number, I will give you one free year of Data Channel. And so that's it. The title of today's show is about books, and I don't make any money off this. I just share it because I think it's just good to share. I don't have an affiliate program. I don't even think they have an affiliate program. Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is quite possibly the world's most awesome site. If you're a knowledge junkie and or a gamer, I'm not really a gamer anymore, but I will. So Humble Bundle, if you go to the homepage, hang on, I'm getting notifications. Oh, there's some kind of webinar. Hang on. Wanted to make sure that no one was trying to message me about the stream. Sometimes the chat thing here gets a little wonky. Sometimes I have folks that are doing that. If you are stream and you want to say hello, just say hello. Anyway, if you're catching this live. So one of the things I did actually is I was watching this guy named Nick Nimmin, who is a professional live streamer, and I studied a lot of his stuff. He basically said, don't waste a lot of time with the pre-rolls and kind of like the countdown graphics, because what you're doing is you're actually turning off people who watch the recording, and just by the nature of the everlasting footprint of a live stream video, that more people are going to have to do that. You had Jonathan Wood. Yes, I had you at books. So I love Humble Bundle. So Humble Bundle has got a bunch of stuff here. Jonathan has an awesome YouTube channel, by the way. Go check it out. And I think we actually interviewed you on Data Driven, actually, through a live stream. So you can go check that show out too. Um, so Jonathan, so if you go to humblebundle.com, right? I don't make any money off this. This is just me just sharing an awesome resource because it was shared to me by a former coworker oh so many years ago. And basically, they have a lot of games. That's kind of their thing. But what they have is they also have bundles around books and software. So with books, because that is what I titled the stream, and I want to be honest in my advertising. If you look here, they have a number of books. Some of these are comic books, some of these are that, but more often than not, they're technology books. So for instance, O'Reilly has a bunch of books about Python programming here. And basically, for $18, they always defaulted to a little more, which is clever. Um, um, but you just click on this. So for $18, you get all of these books, which according to this is 14 items. So you're looking at a dollar and change per book. You can get this for $1. You get 4 books. And nine items for $10. So we're looking at a dollar and change or so. Highly recommend it. The thing that got me excited today was they have a bunch of new stuff that I did not see. I checked this. They tend to change it every Monday or Tuesday. Um, but basically, there's a security one, right? So think like a hacker. It's from No Start Press. Obviously, these are all ebooks or PDFs or EPUBs or oh gosh, what's the other format? Mobies. But basically, they're not. You can get a free player for that. I think Caliber is the one that does it. But you can kind of, if you really want to learn, um, this is an interesting book because it's kind of at the intersection of cybersecurity and data science. That this is a bundle I might pick up, honestly. They take PayPal and stuff like that. But the cool thing about it is that they each one of these supports a particular charity, whether it's Girls Who Code. I think that one was called it was supporting something called Let's Encrypt. Um, if you know someone who's interested in getting into coding, this could make a great gift. I think you can actually buy it for somebody else to gift it out. And part of this go like so this one here, portion of the charity, portion of proceeds will go to that particular charity. And you can actually adjust it so the publisher gets less and Humble Bundle gets a cut. And then you can there's a way you can kind of mess with the dials on that. All great publishers, Manning, O'Reilly, No Starch, kind of legendary. Um, I think I bought this the last time this was here, but it was basically kind of information about just various types of random things. I like it. They have some software bundles too. Let's go here. No, not there. Software bundles. A lot of stuff this week um, on kind of map making and 3D printable and Dungeons and Dragons kind of table stuff. Hey, Vanessa, I'm going to convince you to buy more bundles. I spend way too much on this site. In fact, actually, if I were to pull up my, I don't think I'll share it. Well, let's see how many bundles I have. Because I've been using this site since guy I used to work with named Kenny told me about it. And I have to date, I put them in kind of this folder I have for OneDrive, so if I don't lose it. But according to this, I have about over 150, 154. Now, not all of those in that folder are that, but I would say 150 wouldn't surprise me. But I have everything on from robotics to how to cook to applied math and statistics. Do I have a quantum one? I do have a quantum one. No, 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 that's not one I bought. That's a PDF I bought that I put in there. So I have stuff from MIT Press. I have Maker stuff, Azure stuff, all sorts of stuff here. Career path. So I feel you, Vanessa. Oh, you're into D&D? Oh, well then I totally shouldn't tell you this site. I'm not. I just, I used to work with a guy, um, and I sent him these, and he was like, because he would actually 3D print them and then paint them. And he, on his desk, he used to have like on his desk behind him, he would always have these figurines and stuff that he either 3D printed or actually sculpted himself. So perhaps you should steer away. um, this is interesting. So recently they've been kind of like spreading out. They have um, like basically stock um, royalty free sounds and music and audio. So for your YouTube videos and stuff like that, I would buy this, but I already subscribe to like a service, actually two services now that I think about it. What's also cool here is Corel Painter is here, and I actually was talking about this on the stream the other day because there was something on the dollar thing called multicam capture, which looks like it's something to help streamers. And for honestly $1, I mean, if you kind of monetize your time, think about your time as money. Buying it is probably just the easier thing to do, because by the time I research it, I will have spent time on that. I haven't used Corel Painter in a while. I don't really feel a need to get it. If they had Poser, which was this 3D modeling type thing, I would do it. But for folks that find, here you go, Video Studio. Basically you can do video editing and stuff like that. So for folks that want to do video editing, for folks that want to do that, but find the Adobe products is a little too pricey, even though they had a Black Friday deal that was like ridiculous. I mean, for $30, I mean, let's see, what's this? Paint Shop Pro. Yeah, so for $30, apparently it's only the $30 deal. I mean, you can't beat that. You got 36 things here. Basically, if you're not familiar with Corel Painter, it's kind of like this. It's different than Photoshop. It's different than Illustrator in the sense that it really worked on. It used to be owned by another company. That's when I played with it. That and Poser. And what it's really good at is particularly if you have a stylus and kind of like a pen input pad. It's really good at simulating kind of natural media, like whether it's watercolors, that sort of thing. That is its um, um, that's its number one kind of thing. And what you can do apparently is you can buy different type of brush packs that would simulate trees and foliage. It's really good. I kind of want it, but and I actually have, obviously being a former tablet MVP, obviously I have a number of styluses and things like that. But I don't know, like it's just I've really taken to heart this notion of, it's what you say no to that makes you more successful. So as much as I love to get back into kind of Photoshop and things like that, I've obviously been very busy with uh, graphics and things like that, but more in the video and audio side. So who knows? Maybe, but oh, cool! You game every other week. Yeah, don't check it out then. Send it to your DM, and not that's Dungeon Master, not direct message. Um, well, that's cool. Everything he has, everything ever printed D&D. That's cool. That's cool. That sounds like a fun thing to game every other week and stuff like that. That's cool. Yeah, and there's apparently there's a map making thing too. Um, so send this to your DM, um, and maybe avoid it yourself. I don't know. Gonna blow out your budget. What's also cool here is that they have other types of training. I think these are Plural Site. I have Plural Site. I would have bought this, but I have Plural Site through actually now through my MVP. One of the benefits of MVP is you get a free subscription to Plural Site. So I was actually paying for it after I left Microsoft. And yeah. And then this here, I think this is either Zenva. You spelled out DM for that reason. Exactly. Because DM used to just mean either Dungeon Master or Deutschmarks, which was the old German currency. So yes, now it means DMs. At least for most people. Who is this? This is Zenva. Zenva's pretty cool. I mean, obviously they're sort of a competitor to Data Channel, but their focus is basically on kind of more creative stuff. I have a subscription to this as well. Um, which reminds me, I need to use it more. But basically, they kind of talk to you how to build Roblox games, and it's $25. Basically, this is not a subscription; it's a one-time cost. And you get these courses, which is a pretty good deal if you think about it. It's 4 courses for $20. I mean, that's 4 lattes, right? Maybe 3 if you're buying it in DC. Um, but particularly good if you have, like, younger siblings or kids, like, on your list, and they're I don't know about you, I don't know about your kids, but um everywhere, everywhere you see kids are into Roblox. Like, it's just amazing. It's kind of like what Minecraft was about 5, 6 years ago. Oh, awesome. That's cool. So you get Pluralsight and LinkedIn for free. That's cool. That's awesome. Um, that organizations are doing that. Um, I think WGU is Western Governors University or something like that. That's cool because it, I like that because that kind of sets up students with the idea that learning is a lifelong learning is a thing now. Like uh, if I were to rely on the stuff I learned when I was in college, and this was the mid '90s when I was in college. Kurt Cobain was alive for most of my college career, um, and Tupac was alive for all of it. But I basically, although I think based on something else you and I were talking about recently, Vanessa, was you know the languages that are still around from when I was in college are um, oh, okay, cool. So my acronym game is strong today. The languages that are still around are C and SQL. Right? Every other language I learned in college has not really caught on, or has died off. COBOL is pretty much gone. You could argue that you could have a well-paying career in maintaining COBOL code. Yes. Um, PL1 Pascal is pretty much not in the mainstream anymore. What other courses did I take that were computer languages? So there was C, COBOL, Prolog. Give me a shout if anyone on the stream or in the comments has ever heard of Prolog. um, and what it's for, though I think I've written about it in the past. Um, Prolog is pretty much it's not really in wide use. In fact, I've used C and SQL, and over time, particularly in the technology industry, you just got to keep learning, right? Python was around, but it was not serious enough to be taught in an academic context. I imagine schools now teach Python, but in terms of kind of longevity, you're talking about C and SQL. And yes, c is SQL is a language. No love for Fortran. They actually had a Fortran class, but it was either that or COBOL. And as much as I thought Fortran was cool, um, this was in the when the Y2K problem was still kind of, a ways away. One of the things that one of my professors said, he goes, "Don't kid yourself. This is, there's going to be a market for COBOL, even if it's just for a few years. And realistically, you will probably encounter it in one form or the other as you go in industry." So I wouldn't say he was wrong, but if I really wanted to pursue a path down the COBOL kind of world, I could have. But what I don't think anyone saw, I was going to say that professor, or what he didn't see, or anyone else for that matter, is the importance of web development. So basically, in mid '90s, um, I the whole web kind of hijacked everything. Like, it was just like everybody wanted to be a web developer, whether it was Perl. Perl's still kicking. I mean, it's not as popular anymore. It was basically I started my career doing Visual Basic 3. That's how I was first introduced to the Microsoft ecosystem, and then Java. I was doing some Java, which was super hot at the time, and then got into Perl, little bit of C++ for CGI scripting, things like that. Which I don't think kids today even know what CGI scripting is. Um, it was basically web development before things like Node and stuff like that. Common gateway interface, basically text in, text out. That's basically it. Oh, cool. So you took a course on Fortran in 2012. That's cool. I'm glad to see Fortran's still around. All of these languages are still around. They're not strictly dead. I mean, I once interviewed at a place when I first moved to DC that they were using APL, right? Um, you know, APL, array programming language, is there are people that cling to it, and it's not a bad language. It's just weird because you require like special keyboards and special like characters to control what it does, which I think that's my number one issue with it. But everything is an array. It's kind of weird. It's not bad, but languages are like tools. I would use an axe to cut down a tree, a chainsaw to cut down a tree, and I would use a steak knife to cut a steak. I wouldn't use an axe to cut a steak, although that would be an epic YouTube video. Um, yes, no, totally true. Like I couldn't agree with you more. Um, Web devs do need, if they don't see, this is interesting what you say here, because there was a time in the way back when a web developer did everything. A web developer was back when the term webmaster was in use, and where they were, and I guess this happens in every industry, right? It happened in data science, happened in data, it's going to happen in quantum, where, so when the web was new, and we're talking 93 maybe to 97, 98 is when I remember kind of deviating into different subgenres. If you were a webmaster, you basically knew it all, right? You knew how to reboot the servers, set up cron jobs, right? You were kind of infrastructure. You were DevOps. You were a DevOps team of one, realistically, right? So you can code HTML, you can code the backend stuff. You would code the data that the request would get in. I mean, it was, for lack of a better term, full stack. But you're right, web developers. So what happened was you had kind of web designers that would build out the HTML and the CSS, and you had web developers that would code out, basically implement that design and make it interactive. Um, you seeing that kind of come back in vogue, not for necessity, but I think for cost savings. You have the idea of a full stack developer, which is kind of laughable, because what you have is what I think Vanessa is alluding to, is the idea that web developers think that they can code in SQL, and maybe they can, but they're not going to do it in a performance tuned way. That's what she's talking about, indexing, or why that's important, in a way that somebody who is a DBA or database engineer, or, um, you know, it sounds like there's a good story attached to that, Vanessa. But you're right. I mean, when full stack developers create stuff, um, there are exceptions, right? I'm sure there's an exception that somebody knows everything from soup to nuts at a 400 level and is really good at it. But remember, the whole purpose of a full stack developer is to save money. So that person is probably not going to be on most of your projects. One, they're rare. Two, they're expensive. So what you're going to get is someone who knows a little bit of web dev, a little bit of this, or they're mostly web developer, front end type stuff, React, but they don't really know much about SQL, or much about the back end data storage, whether that's SQL or no SQL. Like myself, right? Like I haven't done web development in any meaningful way since 2004, 2005. Ever since then, I've mostly been using frameworks and things like that. Um, and when I say web development, I don't mean like, put forms and stuff on the page or whatever, but make it look nice, right? Make it look like a nice application. Um, and There you go. Okay, so there is a good story behind it. Maybe one day, Vanessa, I can get you on a live stream and or a podcast, and you could explain this. Yeah, no, you're right. Like they complain about performance. So interestingly enough, one back in the day when I was doing, this would be like 2014, I was doing startup evangelism and stuff like that out of an incubator that's no longer here, 1776 here in DC. And basically, they had a MongoDB instance, and it was, basically a bunch of startup founders, right? Not necessarily, I would say, heavy coders, but just knew enough to get their vision going, which is awesome. I think that's a great approach to take to entrepreneurship. Uh, but as they were scaling, they were starting to have problems because their original infrastructure was, and it wasn't up to the task, right? It was enough to get them launched, right? It was the M in MVP, right? Minimally viable product. And as they were scaling out, they realized that they had some problems, and they were talking about switching to from a NoSQL model over to a more relational model. And I was helping them with that process, and they were getting kind of upset that, wait a minute, like, we don't have clean data here because, well, clean data is a term that has a lot of things weighted to it, particularly in a data science community. I'll say normalized data. That's exactly what I would meant refer to that. So it's like, I was like, look, I mean, this is a key engineering distinction you have to make right now, right? Like, do you want to have normalized data where you have a certain amount of guarantees about what data and you have in your schema, or do you want to play it more, for lack of a better term, loosey goosey, where you have what you have and you don't have what you don't have. And that was kind of like, for them, I don't know, like, it was interesting how they got a bit of attitude at me, like, I didn't create these systems, man. I'm just here to help. But yeah, so what's interesting is that a lot of folks don't understand database performance, and some of the subtle nuances there to get stuff going. And I once worked on a project where, oh man, I'm having nightmares. So I for a time I was doing I was at a consulting firm, and their core business was basically application maintenance, which no one likes to do. That's strong. No one likes to do. I would say it's not the ideal career end path, right? Everyone wants that greenfield project. But complaining about performance. So I ended up getting a hold of this one thing, and they actually didn't. They came to me and they said, "Hey, we have this SQL query that takes 7 to 14 minutes, and but we need someone to fix it." So I look at the database, no indexes, Vanessa, no indexes, none whatsoever. So I basically hardly any referential integrity too, but that's a story for another day. So I went and I added indexes to the schema. Suddenly, this query that took, like, 7 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes, was now down to 3 seconds, right? And they're like, "Oh, that's great, but we can't change the schema." But I'm not really changing the schema, I'm just adding indexes, which, so for them, it was too uncomfortable. So what I ended up doing, and this is the craziest thing, was I ended up basically duplicating all their data into temp tables. So whenever a query ran, they had to duplicate the tables. And then those temp tables had indexes on them, run the query, and then return the result. And then the temp tables just went away. That ended up taking, um, I think, 15 to 20 seconds, right? Most of that was copying the data, which is not too bad. I then applying the index. They were happy with that. It's the strangest thing. So database performance is really in the eye of the beholder. In fact, I would say computer performance in general is in the eye of the beholder. Another consulting gig I had was WPF, and they had this WPF form that, upon loading the window, so WPF is Windows Presentation Foundation, uses a language called XAML, and among other things. Um, Primarily for Windows development, Windows application, Windows Windows App Store type stuff, as well as as well as Silverlight and Windows Phone. So they had a form that had, no exaggeration, I would say, had the first window it loaded had 6,000 elements on it, right? So text boxes, text labels, stuff like that. Most of them were hidden, like when you first loaded it, right? So it was like, but I was just like, I said to him, I was like, they were complaining because it would take 30 seconds or so to load up. And I was looking at it and I was like, the only real way to fix this is to like reduce the initial load, right? But they didn't want to do that because there was a lot of time put into that and stuff like that. I was like, all right, well, let me see what else we can do. So ended up finding out one of the strengths of WPF was it offloaded a lot of the work of rendering the video, not the video, but rendering to screen the controls. It offloaded that to the GPU, and I go and I check it out, and when I ran it on my computer, which I had the GPU drivers and stuff installed, it wasn't that bad. Considering it was 6,000, it was like, their goal is to get under 15 seconds. On my computer, it went to like 15. It didn't go to 15. It was like under 10 seconds. So it's hard to troubleshoot. So they set me up with like a VP, a virtual connection. I was able to kind of screen share with somebody, and it turns out that they had decent graphics cards in the machines, but the drivers weren't installed. So I gave them back with two recommendations. One, get a decent graphics card, which would be about $200 at the time. But it turns out a lot of the folks already had these pretty decent GPUs in there. The drivers weren't installed. So, no code changes, zero code changes, just kind of the ops changes, right? Just go. The guy was excited because he's like, even if I had to spend $200 upgrading everybody's PC to a better graphics card, that's still less expensive than recoding the application. And that really stuck with me. Story time soon. You got to go. Oh, thanks for dropping in, Vanessa. I see your comment here. I have to go as well. Wow, all in temp tables. Yeah. Fix the DB. Yeah, that's true. So to answer your question, if you're going to watch this later on the thing, it was kind of normalized. It wasn't that bad. Considering, again, it's all about expectations going in. Considering that they had zero indexes, miraculously, the referential integrity actually was pretty decent. So that would tie into normalization. So it was actually fairly, considering they had zero indexes on the entire database, and this database was core to their entire business, the normalization wasn't that bad, which tells me that whoever built it and designed it read certain chapters of the database engineering, or like how to DBA or how to data engineer book. They read certain chapters, or maybe they read them all, but just certain ones stuck. So yeah, I actually have to go as well. I want to thank you all for joining, Jonathan, Vanessa, for joining live, and anyone else who's joining on a later recording of this stream, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or somehow you're watching this through franksworld.com. Thank you for joining, and you have a great day. And remember, get up and make this week count. Still Tuesday. You got a few more a whole high impact Tuesday thing, All right. I'm out of coffee. That means I need to reload before my meeting.